in. How were you doing this week? And what your wins were or your ahas.
Okay, I have a very important win. Hang on a second. My win is being able to collect this check from my client.
All right.
Biggest business transaction I've ever had so far. I mean, I've received a lot larger sums of money in the past, but those were not business. This is business.
Good for you. We can't actually see the amounts, and I know that your money is different than.
Yes. Yeah, it's not as big, but it's a first.
Yeah, good for you.
So in my case, when I got this check, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the thing about that is that's the beginning.
Yes.
Right? That, like, when we get a check like that, that's the beginning of the floodgates opening. It's not like one and done.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Glory, what was your win this week?
Yeah, I guess my wins are really more in the emotional coherence realm. But you know, it has been an important week in, I think, letting go and releasing the things that I have no control over, and really going even like into deeper layers. And I know you already know what I'm talking about, Eliza, but freeing up some emotional energy. And even yesterday with, you know, that realization that so much energy and passion had been kind of diverted into, you know, in some really old familial negativity, and feeling that starting to free up in my body has been actually a huge thing for me, a huge shift. And feeling it's been, you know, very visceral, feeling this change and this release. So I'm really grateful for that. And then just on the money aspect, we kind of go up and down with our savings and our portfolio, but we did go back up over one of our magic numbers. I still want to multiply that by 10. That's in my dream. But you know, we went back over with our investments over a magic number. So I told Pat, I think we need a woohoo here. So
Celebrating that.
You know, it's funny. It's difficult to talk about money and to talk about numbers. You know, because I was raised, we didn't really share it, and we didn't talk about it with other people. So there's still a little reticence, you know, in sharing some of that. So it's interesting. Yeah. I'm observing it.
Yeah, exactly. And really congratulate you for just speaking into that as much as you did, right? Because even in the safe container of a class like this, there is that sort of hesitancy thing. So more places to lean into. So you and Pat go so for that.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. That's great. Leila, how are you doing this week? Are you there?
I am here.
There you are.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I'm putting medicine on my neck, so you guys didn't need to see all that. Hi, everybody.
Hola.
So, hello. So from last week, let's see, my niece came to visit, and that was quite fun. And it was nice to clear up some misconceptions that had gone between the families, and that was pleasant. And I had a great time with her, and felt a lot of good energy with that. So then, let's see, Monday it was raining and cold, icky, so I didn't do anything. It was, I don't want to, so I'm not going to, so I stayed in my big butt chair and I just hung out and watched TV, and I did a few things, but nothing that was what I really needed to do, but it's okay. I was all right with that. I call it my cave day. And so I was a little concerned, though, because I was feeling kind of sad that day. but I think that was mostly the weather causing that issue. And then Tuesday I did some work for a client. And I don't know if I told the group that I don't have my job that I used to have as of 2 weeks ago. So, which is just fine. At first it was kind of frustrating, but it's something time coming. And I'm very excited now that I'm not there and I don't have that stress every day. And so yesterday and today I worked on the resume because I saw a job that I wanted online, and I needed to hurry and get my resume done. So I got it done today, got it sent off. An hour later, I got a request to come in for an interview. And so that was my, yes! Yay! And I have not done a resume for 25 years, 30 years. I haven't done one. So that was hard for me. Writing a resume was extremely hard for me. But I got it done. And so then next week, I go in for my interview. It's for staging homes, and something that I love doing besides merchandising retail stores. So pretty excited about that. And then I have another client I work with tomorrow. So I'm actually keeping quite busy.
Good for you.
And got together a whole inventory of all of the products I had at the, not products, but display pieces and decorative at the store that I was working at. And so if she chooses to buy the things that are on the list that I'm okay with her buying, that will be a nice income piece. And otherwise, it's a grand day.
Awesome.
So,
that's great. Congratulations.
thank you. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, no kidding. And Nadia, how are you doing tonight?
Hi,
Hi.
I'm here. Um, it's glad to hear all the good stories from everyone. I really don't have a win to share this week because I've had one of those weeks where every moment something happens. And so on Monday, I don't know what I did, but I could not, I had like my neck snap a little bit, so I could not turn to the right at all. So on Tuesday, it was very painful at work. I'm literally leaning to one side. And so today I went to the chiropractor to try to see if she could straighten me up. And she did a spine scan, and everything to the right is just coming up in reds when it should either be green or blue. Everything is red. So she did what she could. So I'm in a little bit of pain, and I have to return tomorrow to see if she can straighten me up a little bit more. So I made it for the last class, so we'll see.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. We're all glad that you're here. And even if you have to lay out on the floor, right, you'll still be able to hear and hopefully see.
That's exactly where I am, with the ice pack on my neck.
Oh my goodness gracious. So we'll just hold for you that there's a softening, right, and some relief from your adjustment and from your ice, and maybe from this class too, that you can make some space to allow that softening so you can get straightened up. Yeah.
Right. Thanks.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you're here. All right. Tonight we are in our next class. It just seems like sometimes these sessions go so quickly. Here we are, 7 weeks. It's like, wait, where'd that go? Last time I taught this, we had 2 different 2-week breaks in the middle of it, just because of the way life happened, including Christmas and New Year's. And then I was on a cruise. You know, somebody has to do that, but you know, no internet available, or I chose anyway. Anyway, but these 7 weeks have been so powerful for me. And tonight is, we're looking at the laws of obedience and success. We have a very special guest, again, one of my favorite weeks. So we're going to just jump right in to the videos, and I have a little bit of sort of wrap up at the end of the class. So we're going to move through the videos fairly quickly tonight. And then we have a celebration ceremony, and I'll tell you about what's possible for what's next, and then just a really closing our container checkout. So it's a big night. Here we go.
Amazing, you will do amazing things.
Welcome to Prosperity Plus 3, Living Full Spectrum Life. And look at you. Here it is, week 7 in your experiment in a new way of living. We began with the mother mouse coming out with her 5 babies, and a tomcat coming, a threat to what it is that she wants. And she learns a new language. And she puts that language on and diverts the threat and protects her babies, and she reminds them now, always remember the value of knowing more than one language. Over these 7 weeks, you've been working with a new way of communing and communicating with the infinite side of your nature. We've recognized in a deeper way, I hope, through the practice, that there is an infinite side of our nature and there is a finite side of our nature. The place where we transact between the finite and the infinite, where we make contact with both realms of our being, is in the here and now through noticing what we're noticing. In the absence of noticing what we're noticing, thoughts are happening and thought patterns are occurring, but nobody's home to notice. Nobody's aware of what those thoughts mean and whether or not they're actually moving us in the direction of our dream. We decided to do an experiment in this way of living. And a little bit like Henry David Thoreau doing his experiment, not as long as an experiment, but for some of us, a really rigorous experiment, which included tithing 10% of all the dollars that came our way. Sometimes with part of us kicking and screaming about that, other times perhaps with it being easy and wonderful and understanding the flow of things and getting used to being a person of increase, a person who is reliant upon a source that's greater than any circumstance we're looking at, no matter how it appears. And so here we are now as we begin week 7. The last 2 laws in the invisible laws that Raymond Hollowell documented are the law of obedience and the law of success. I mentioned to you that when Jack Boland was my mentor, he was rigorous in making sure that every bit of his work with me included my understanding that these laws were non-negotiable. In the law of, there's no negotiating with the law of gravity. There's no negotiating with the law of electricity. It matters not how nice a person you are or how much you meditate. That law works the way that law works. And so it is as we come to the conclusion of our study in 11 invisible laws that success is dependent upon our obedience to working with the laws the way the laws work. That from vision, we have the possibility to put on that vision, try it on, do time machine, step into the vibration of that vision. That vision and vibration are the tools by which the infinite produces transformation. You can have a vision, but if you don't match the vibration, it stays invisible. But match the vision, match the frequency of the reality you want, and it becomes yours. And that is not philosophy, Einstein says, that is physics. Henry said this, if one advances, he said, I learned this at least by my experiment, that if one advances confidently in the direction of their dream and endeavors to live the life they've imagined, they pass an invisible boundary. Now, those invisible boundaries actually at times look like very visible boundaries. They look like immense structures to keep us from what it is that we would really love. And so, at our final class, I have a new guest by video who will come and share with you a story about his life in finding that barrier that seemed insurmountable. And this is my second oldest son, Rich Boggs, who's prepared this especially for you. It's called The Wall.
On a quest to discover my dream, I came upon a wall. And it was a wall stretching to infinity in every direction. It was dark, it was thick, it was massive, it was solid, and it was directly in front of me. I knew my vision was beyond this wall, but I had heard that for most, the wall is the end. And when you reach it, you are stopped forever and can only turn around and go back. But I had arrived here by my own choosing, and I had no intention of going back. I was going on. I was going forward. It was my time. I began feeling along the dark wall, feeling for cracks, feeling for an opening, anything that might provide a handhold, always feeling for some kind of opening. And then, one day, in a place so far away, I had never been there before, I felt a crack, a small space in the wall. I worked my fingers into it and pulled. A tiny piece of the wall came loose in my hands. I reached in and pulled again. Another piece came loose. I was feverish. I worked for hours, pulling and prying until I had created a decent-sized hole, and I could feel this jagged edge inside. I reached in with both hands, and bracing myself with my feet, I jerked with all my might, and a large block came loose and pinned me to the ground. I struggled to get it off, and I stood up, gasping for breath. I reached inside the wall, and I felt around. I could see nothing. I could feel nothing. My instincts told me I had uncovered the entrance to a tunnel. I gathered up my courage and started crawling through the dark and twisting hole in the wall. After crawling for what seemed like days, I began to hear something. The familiar. My past. What had been. My former life. Calling me to go back. Images of simpler times and comfortable memories begged me to turn around, to go back. But I had no intention of returning. I kept moving forward. Cries of self-doubt and condemnation began ripping at my mind.
So can you relate to the walls? Where in your life, in your dreams, have you hit up against the walls? And where have you made the walls mean something? Like, where have you made the fact that there's a wall mean, well, maybe I'm not supposed to have it. Well, and I don't really want it. Maybe I don't really want it. Maybe it's too big, or maybe it's too hard, or maybe I don't. Maybe, you know, that noise of our brains and that noise of our past and the noise of the familiar, the voice of the familiar. To think about how that's operated in your life. And it's kind of similar in a sense to a few weeks ago when Mary was talking about so many of us raise the temperature of our dreams to 211 degrees. And when we could go one more degree to change the state, right? To go from water boiling to water to steam. It's that moment before, but there's always going to be a moment before. One of the other modalities that I've taught in over the years is the idea of trouble at the border. Trouble at the border, meaning the border between where you are and where you want to be. There's always an edge there. Mary talks about it in one of the other prosperity courses about being at the edge of the growing green, but the edge, the edge of consciousness. And this trouble at the border is there's always a gap between where you are and where you want to be. That's the wall. That's the voice of the familiar. That's the small self holding you back. So just stick with it, because you don't know when the breakthrough is going to come or where it's going to come or how it's going to show up. And that's the really exciting thing. So I'm going to jump right back into the video. If you have something you want to add or a question, go ahead and put it in the chat.
You and I keep breathing, and we will create results, not maybe.
There's so many things I want to say about that segment. It's like that segment could be a whole thing. First off, I shared that testimony with Mary after teaching the first class. I was talking about it before to Gloria and Anthony, and it's true. So much of that came even within the first 1 year of doing it. Two, I know Katie. I've watched Katie transform. She's a friend of mine. She's like amazing. But she had to really sacrifice from last week, let go of the good for a greater good in order to come into alignment, right? So that that phone call could come out of the blue, so that she could really have the life of her dreams, not just huge financial success and everything else bankrupt, right? And the last piece, that ATV, right? Mama, you're not using all your power. Take your foot off the brake. The business coach that I had last year, I spent a year with a business coach, and she talked a lot about the handbrake. So we've got the accelerator and we've got the brake. We've got the accelerator and the brake. And when we are on one side of the wall, looking at the wall, we've got a brake on, we're not aligned. That's why it's so important on so many levels to have that dream, to have that future dream, because it is what will fuel you to and through the wall, through the obstacles. So I want to take a couple of moments and just open the lines for a couple of comments. Hey, Wendy, glad you made it. Who wants to say something?
Hi, this is
I
Wendy.
just want to give it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll do Wendy and then we'll go to Lori. Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, hi everybody. I love that story. I actually have that written on my on the side of my vision board. Is take your foot off the brake, because I definitely allow those like I think I'm putting everything in, but there's definitely there's things that stop me, and just having that as like the little reminder of and for me it's a lot of having this really like dreams just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's a point where I'm just like, oh my god, there's just no way, like I can't do that, I can't build that, I can't make this thing, this is way too much. Like it's not a who do I think I am, but there is a moment of like, this is just, there's no way I can get to that. And that's how I end up stopping myself or trying to stop myself. And it really has just been these last 6 or 8 months where I've been learning all of these techniques and tools and putting them into action and reminding myself of Mary's stories and just being like, oh come on, I mean, she managed to pay back $10 million on her own. Who in the world can imagine actually doing that? I'm like, well, the person who does it, that's who imagines it. So I love that story.
Right. That's so great. And it's like continually turning our thermostat up, right? Like we get close to our dreams, and then how much more can we receive? How much more can we dream? How much more are we willing to be fully in our lives?
Yeah, absolutely. I also sometimes wrote one more little comment really quickly, is that what just came to mind is I had both of my children at home. I did all natural births, and there's every plateau you hit, you were like, you'd hit a plateau and you'd be like, okay, I got a little more, I can give some more. And, the energy would increase and everything would get more. And there'd be like a moment where you'd be like, oh, there's no way I can take more than this. And then more would happen and you would just be like, okay, I can take more. So I really draw a lot of power from reminding myself about how much power there is innately in us. And when we tell ourselves that this is as much as there is, there's more in there.
There's always more. Yeah, beautiful. That's a great analogy. Thank you. Glory.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate what you shared, Wendy. And I just want to do a quick shout out to you, Eliza. I thought that was so cool that she shared your letter during the session. So very, very cool.
Yeah.
I love, there was so much there to just sink your teeth into. One of the things that jumped out at me was, if you can't make it happen, you can make it welcome, which I thought, I may not be paraphrasing it perfectly, but I love this attraction, that in what you have talked about, by coming from the vision instead of going to the vision, that I can only receive as much as I am willing to expand. You know, so when I've had this small life, and I kept saying, how come it's not coming? How come it's not coming to me? Well, I had to expand myself first. You know, I had to become a larger container and to keep increasing the size of the container that my consciousness is, so that I can receive more. And I love the phrase "from out of the blue," you know. And I may have to put that on my mirror, because yeah, where is the blue? You know, the great blue yonder. You know, this is my consciousness. That it's infinite. I have infinite consciousness. So just great video tonight. Love it.
Yeah, awesome, thanks. And I just want to share just one other brief thing that's kind of totally minor, but last year, before we left here, and we left in November, basically, first part of November, we had these chairs we were trying to sell and get rid of. And it's like, we had them on everything and nobody was interested. There was nobody interested in our chairs. Couldn't get anybody to click anything on them. This afternoon, about 2 o'clock, I put them on a couple of different places. I've had like 15 responses, and that phone call was the lady picking them up. They're gone. It's like just being in some kind of, like, the time is right and the alignment and the flow. Who knows why they didn't sell last year? Probably because we didn't know what we wanted to replace them with or whatever, but it doesn't matter. But it's like, then things can happen like so fast. And they did. And so we just had a little success right now since we've been in class tonight. So how cool is that? All right, let's go into, so I just really want to honor you, whether this is your first time in this class, the second time in this class, many times in prosperity classes, for your willingness to be here each and every week, for your willingness to take on the commitments. And I hugely encourage you to continue, because it is in the continuing that allows that deep transformation. Most of the dreams that we want don't happen overnight, but they can begin to happen. But we don't want to be drawn, like Rich's monologue, by the familiar. We don't want to quit moving in our momentum. We want to continue the commitments that you made to yourself, the commitments to being in a daily study, to being in a daily contemplation, to working the principles, to working the practices, to stay in a weekly tithing, where you're continuing to give as a conscious agreement with that which is spirit. Give to divine awakening, I gratefully receive, or give to your ministry, or give to where you are being really spiritually fed, or where you want to see something really happening and grow. And commit, keep that commitment to being a generous person, to be a person who gives of your time, of your talent, to be the one that's offering the compliments and being generous with your spirit. And one of the ways that you can do that is to stay in your material. You've got all the materials to start over with week number 1 in your audios and in your workbooks, to do the charting your course at the end of your workbook. Any of those things will keep you in the energy. Another way is to take Prosperity Plus again. The next one is going to be probably starting in about a month from now. So you're more than welcome to sign up for that again. If you do, there's no material fees because you already have the materials. Or another way is a container that I've created just relatively new. I've had something similar in different ways, but I'm going to send you a link on it tomorrow, and it's the next level, and it's a 90 more days, 12 more weeks to really stay in your commitment to taking your life to the next level, whether that's in your health or your wealth or your time or your relationships or your vocation. And it's a support structure. It's very super easy to join. And like I said, I'm going to send you the details about that. But the bottom line is you get weekly support in the form of meditations, exercises, prompts. You get a weekly energetic reset, which some of you are already getting now, but that's included. And there's a monthly live call that is a coaching Q&A call. And all of that for the 90 days is, I'm offering it to you for only $127 a month or $35 a week or pay in full for 90 days, 337. You don't have to remember that. I'll shoot you the email so you can take a look at that. Also, if that's curious to you, just hop on a call, just shoot me a text or an email, say, hey, I want to talk about this. Let's look at it. So there's lots of ways to continue. I just don't want you to stop with your expansion, with your growth, with your dreams, moving into your dreams. So for our tithing, let's go into our tithing. Then we've got a little ceremony to, oops, I gave it to, hold on just a second. I sent it not to everybody. There we go. So as we tithe tonight, right? If we move confidently in the direction of our dreams, endeavoring to live the life of our dreams, miracles happen, providence moves. And so as we lean into being the person who's already living our dreams, we tithe from that place. We tithe in gratitude, we tithe in expectation, and even more than that, we tithe from the vibration of already having received. With a grateful heart, I give freely and receive abundantly. With a grateful heart, I give freely and receive abundantly. With a grateful heart, I give freely and receive abundantly. And so it is. The link is there. I'm going to put on a piece of music. I'm also going to give you the other link here. Let me get this going. Awesome. Okay, so we have our completion ceremony. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to have a completion ceremony, and then in the next day or so, hopefully even tomorrow, I'll send out the recording of tonight's class, and I will include on there a link to the offer, the next level spiritual support offer, and I will also include there a link to a really brief, just like 4 question survey that we really encourage you and ask you to just take a couple of minutes to fill out. Basically, it's like, you know, what did you get out of the class? So that's just helpful for us for the back end and the front end of future courses. So I really hope that you do that. And then next week, I will also be sending out to you a copy of your certificate of completion and your tithing record. When those come, please take a look at them and confirm that that is what your records also show. And so then that is complete. Keep that tithing record for your records in case you're somebody who still gets to take charitable contributions, because these count if, you know, I don't know, we haven't been able to take charitable contributions in a while, so, you know, tax laws are changing. But at any rate, it's there. So, in the ceremony, were we in the same room together, we would be standing and we would be in a circle and we'd be looking at each other. Nadia and Wendy, you can look at us. We're looking at your beautiful faces, even though we can't see you on the screen. And we include Terry, who was predisposed tonight. She's in a wedding, so she was unable to be with us tonight. She's often been without picture too, so we imagine Terry's face and Nadia's and Wendy's. And we just feel the energy of the room. And to each of you, I offer you a certificate of completions. I say, congratulations, you did it. You did it. 7 weeks, a 7-week experiment of the art and science of living full potential wealth. You've learned a ton, but you've also become so much different. I can feel it. I've witnessed it. It's been my honor to facilitate it. And so I hereby certify you as a completed student in Prosperity Plus 3. And so it is, and so we are blessed. Thank you, God. Thank you, all of you, each of you. Awesome. All right, so to close us out, would love to hear just a couple of words from each person who's here. Can be an aha takeaway from tonight or over the whole course, and we're already a little bit, we're pretty close to our closing time, so we'll keep it a little bit brief, but go ahead and also just say what you want to say as we close the 7-week experiment container. Yes, Nadia.
My takeaway overall is to remain consistent, keep focused on the vision and your goals, and use every stumbling block as a step up towards the direction of your dream.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Nice reminders for you right now, right? Great.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yeah, thanks.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
Okay. My takeaway from this really has been to never think that any dream is too big. And that, I've always had a belief that one person can change the world, but this is like, now there's a knowing. And that's not an egotistical thing or an arrogance thing. That's just those who dream it big enough are the ones who achieve it.
Beautiful. And we see you doing big things in the world, Wendy, and we'll get to be. We knew her in that class. Remember that class we took with you? I have one of my students that was in the very first prosperity class that I taught has gone on to be this big, I'm not going to mention her name, but this big deal internet entrepreneurial, like she's like massive. And I'm like, yeah, you were in that class. I watched you. And look at you go, girl. It's pretty crazy. Cool. Thanks, Wendy. Anthony.
Okay. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. And I am not a statistic. I am an individual. Statistics only apply to groups. And why and when are low caliber questions. So why is high caliber question.
Beautiful. Beautiful. How is also a very low caliber question. How is actually none of our business.
Okay, let me add that.
It's God's business. Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Glory.
Well, I mean, there's so much, but, I guess really my biggest takeaway is that it's all about a consciousness change. And my job is not to change the world, but to change who I am in the world, and that the rest falls into place. And instead of chasing circumstances, instead of trying to solve all the external worldly problems, that it's all beginning right here inside of me. And that's where the wealth already is. So it was a wonderful class, and thank you so much. I salute your incredible energy in holding this container and supporting all of us. So thank you so much from my heart.
Thank you, Glory.
And thank you to all of my incredible classmates. Yes.
Yes. Awesome. And Leila.
I've known for a bit that this was my time and position to move from one place to another. I knew it was time for a new beginning. And so the trapeze story was pretty cool for me. on hanging out where you know it's comfortable, but being willing to let go to grab onto the next. And, you know, so I imagine myself actually being that trapeze and actually, you know, deciding to let go to fly to the next one. And pretty scary, but it's also pretty exhilarating at the same time. And so that's where I see myself right now, is in this exhilarating motion forward. And another part was, you know, basking in the own. My mom and I used to just take off, pack a lunch and just take off and drive. And we didn't know we were going to go. It didn't matter. And so it, sorry, I got, but it was always an adventure. It was always fun. We always made it back in one piece. We always made it, but we had so much fun on the journey. And that's really what I was thinking, was with the unknown. It is a little scary when you get lost, you know, but if you just keep thinking, it's all right, I'm going to find my way and I'm going to get there and we're going to have fun in the process. So just trying to remember to have fun in the process and then just let yourself go.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I don't think I talked last week, but I know you've probably heard my trapeze story. And so you've inspired me by mentioning it again to create a little video about my trapeze story.
That would be great.
It was the most terrifying thing I'd done at that moment. And exhilarating at the same time. And you know, you have to let go in order to, you know, grab the bar. In my case, I was grabbed by a guy, you know, the hand grab. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, it was really cool. All right. Any other last minute comments or kudos or hopes or dreams that you want to share in the context of this group?
I'd love to see a reunion in a while of all of us to see where we are.
Okay.
Me too. I would love to see that too.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's talk about that, doing that. Maybe we'll just pick a 30-minute slot or an hour slot one night and just see who's available.
Yeah.
Why don't we set one now?
Class reunion.
Anthony?
Why don't we set one now?
Okay.
To check in for about half an hour, maybe instead of a few weeks after this or a few days after this. Just set a schedule for half an hour.
I think more than a few days. I think, you know, a month or so, just to see where we've where we've gone. That's my opinion.
So how about I'll suggest Thursday, May 16th. And the reason I suggest that is because I'm tentatively planning on starting the next round of this on Tuesday, the 21st. Give us a chance to come together and see who wants to join in.
Sounds fun.
Love it.
All right, mark your calendars. Go ahead. I put the offer link in the chat there, so go ahead and click through that. You don't have to go look at it now, but click through it and then you can look at it. And thank you for that push. You know, Mary always talks about take action quick. So thanks to Anthony's quick action, we have a reunion planned.
Yeah.
What time?
Same time, 7 p.m. Central.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Could you, Eliza, could you send an email out to the group about that?
Absolutely.
So we have it in writing. Okay.
Yep.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, then that's a wrap. And as we just wrap our the art and science and our 7-week experiment of really learning to live full potential wealth. We just take a moment to feel where we are right now and to look back 7 weeks when we first started, when we first came into this particular container, with our dream as it was then, and we began with what would we love, and we've learned something, a bunch of things every single week, and we've taken the spiral around in learning, but also in being. So look at that gap, look at how that bridge, how far you've come, and that'll be a part of, the survey question when I send that out, hopefully as early as tomorrow. So be leaning into that. But right now, just give yourselves big kudos. Like, we did it. We might not have made it all the way to the summit, but by golly, we put that deposit down. We are on our way. Know that I support you.
I love it.
I love you. I appreciate you. If you have anything that you want to talk about or feel free to reach out. I'm available to you in that manner as well. And I look forward to seeing you again real soon.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Good
night, everyone.
Love you.
Thank you, everyone, so much.
Good night, Glory. Good night, Anthony. Good night, Wendy.
Good night. Good night,
Good morning.
everyone.
Bye.
Good morning,
Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Anthony.